Hello, my name is Thomas Winter. My Unity ID is HW0, and I'm going to go over the homework 0 for CSC 519. We are going to run the op-unit check for the installed software on my computer, and then we are going to create a virtual machine instance using DigitalOcean, ping its IP address, and then delete that instance, and then we are going to use AWS to create a virtual machine instance and ping that IP address. So first off, we have the op-unit check, which I'm running in Dockable Notebook. I've already pre-installed the op-unit check, but if you want to run the op-unit check, you can just run this line of code right here. But we're going to run the profile of the op-unit check, and it'll check our software. So there are 14 tests it's got to run, and once it runs through all of them, it'll say success if we have all the correct software installed. And there we go, success. So we have node, get, bash, ssh, wget, jq, Visual Studio Code, and then all the necessary software for the class. So here we have the code index.js, and this is the provisioning code for the DigitalOcean instance. So our third method in this class is called createDroplet, and a droplet in DigitalOcean terminology is the instance of the virtual machine. So we can just run this portion of the code. So I'm already in the directory and we just have to run node.index.js, and it will create our instance. So here we have a success. Now we need to grab this ID in order to get the IP address later on. And now we're going to copy that ID into this variable, droplet ID. We're going to comment out the createDroplet method and uncomment getInfo for the droplet. And now we are going to run index.js again so that we can get the droplet info. Save that. And we run index.js. And we've got a bunch of information, but at the bottom is our public IP address. So we can copy that, or really we can just ping that IP address. And see, we've got communication with that IP address. And now I'm going to comment out that droplet info method and uncomment out the delete droplet method, and this will delete our instance of the virtual machine, and we can retest the IP address. Save that. So I'm going to run the node or index.js again, and it has deleted the droplet, so we can reping the IP address. And it's timing out, so that means we successfully have deleted that instance. Next, we're going to use AWS to create an instance of a virtual machine. AWS requires a key pair that is unique in itself for each instance that is created. And here is the create key pair block of code, and I named mine thwinter_pair, which is just my Unity ID. It will store this key pair in the AWS folder under credentials, a credentials file. So once I've already generated the key pair, so I go into my create instances.js, and I've inserted that key pair name in the instance parameter. And now we can just, I'll go over the code before we run through everything. But essentially, it's just going to create an instance, and I also have a block of code that will describe the different parameters in that instance. And we're interested in pinging the IP address. So although this method includes the public IP address, I wanted to isolate just the IP address so it's clear for us just to ping it and we don't have to parse through all the information we receive back. Now we're going to run the function to create an instance using our key pair. And it has created an image ID and instance ID. So we're going to copy this instance ID that we can use to just quickly get the IP address. But I will also get the details. So yeah, there's a bunch of information. The public IP address is somewhere in here, but here it's down over here. But an easy way to do that is just to run this other block of code to get the public IP address. But we need to copy that instance ID in there to get it. So we are going to copy it in there, save the file, and we're ready to run it. And we can run node ec2 get public IP address. And there's our public IP address of our created instance, and we can ping that address. And we've got communication with the virtual machine. And that's how you create a virtual machine using AWS. Make sure it's running with the IP address along with DigitalOcean. And we ran through that op unit check. Thank you.